James, how's your offense done with the crowd noise? It's been kind of seemingly on a loop.
Pretty good. We did a very little bit. I think we did one period on Tuesday, because Tuesday's a real teaching day, so it's kind of hard to teach, when the music's playing like that. Today we did it the entire day, and then we'll do it, tomorrow the entire day. And I think it's louder. As you can see, we're working in the end zone where the speakers are. So I think it's louder than, I know it's louder than what it is in Beaver Stadium. So just trying to get our guys as prepared as possible, playing the same type of music, all those types of things, crowd noise, whatever it may be. So I thought we handled it pretty well, but we've also done it from the beginning of camp. We didn't wait. We've been doing this since the beginning of camp. I think I told you guys before that, I learned my lesson as an offensive coordinator years ago when I waited to the week of to work it, and that didn't go over very well.
What's that decibel level? You talked about it on your calling show.
I think it typically, when the music is playing, it's around 97, 98. But when it's just a crowd noise, I think it gets up to 105. For whatever reason, the crowd noise is higher.
Are there issues with the township or anything noise-wise that you have to worry about with that?
Do you live in the township?
I don't really
not
care.
like it?
No.
Is this like a favor to your neighbors?
I could imagine. Living in my neighborhood, people would.
To be honest with you, I've never heard anything about it. At Vanderbilt, we were right in the middle of a neighborhood. It was a little bit more of an issue. I know. Coach Moorhead told me a story when he was at Fordham. Their practice fields butted right up to classrooms, and a professor came out on the field. Mm-hmm. And I guess Joe told him, "I don't tell you how to run your classroom. You don't tell me how to run mine." As you can imagine, that probably went over really well. I probably won't try that tactic. But no, we haven't heard anything, and I think you guys know, pretty much everybody around here understands, what we have to get prepared for. People are very supportive. The other thing is, fortunately, we're on this side of campus, and we're fairly far away from most of the classrooms and most of the students, to be honest with you. Even the dorms, we're not near. So I think that's an advantageous setup for us as well. But no, after watching this video now, you'll probably encourage someone to do that.
Do you get much feedback from the players of how much that helps them practicing with the song?
Well, I don't think anybody likes it. The coaches don't like it. I don't like it. The players don't like it. You have a headache by the end of practice. Your ears are ringing. I'm trying to figure out a way to get the treble turned down, because the treble just kind of pierces your ears. But it's one of those things, you don't like conditioning. You don't like morning workouts, but all these things are important for us to be prepared and be ready to go into these venues. And I've been in pretty good venues in my career, and it can be challenging. Whether you're in a dome, can be challenging. Whether you're in, SEC stadiums, Big Ten stadiums. I've been in enough of them, that I think we know what we have to do to be prepared for it.
Trace was telling us earlier today that he felt the execution yesterday was really
You've been working out.
A little bit, yeah. Thanks, guy. He felt it was good for a Tuesday practice, and he thought it was attributed to the film study a lot of the guys have been doing. Did you feel the same about yesterday's practice? How was today? What would you attribute it to? I
think it's a couple things. I think we're an older team as part of it. I think the other thing is, now for 2 years, the players are getting together on their own. On Mondays, our day off, and watching film and talking ball and watching tape and probably laughing and telling stories or whatever, but they're taking some initiative to get a head start. So now when we install things and we're talking about what they do defensively, they already got a little bit of a feel for it, because they've watched it together and discussed some things. I think that helps. I think it's probably a combination of those two things more than anything. It's just more of a mature team, and then players taking some initiative on their own on Monday on the day off. So and then I think probably, you're getting to, week 3, week 4, week 5 in the season, they kind of start to get a feel for the routine, and I think that helps too.
James, when you think about teams that don't beat themselves, what does that mean to you?
Yeah, it's penalties. Giving away yards and penalties. Although if you really look at the statistics, the penalties aren't overly significant. I think turnovers is probably the biggest thing when you think about not beating yourself. Turnovers since the beginning of time has been one of the stronger stats forever. I would say that's probably the biggest two is turnovers, number one. The other one is penalties. And then the last thing is just execution. So when you grade the tape, how many missed assignments did you have when you didn't execute the play correctly? And then on film, the play had no chance to be successful because of your own errors, not anything that the defense did. So that would be the other one. That's one of those that, fans, media watching the game, you wouldn't know that until the film is graded. Obviously, you can watch and see, they're not executing, and I don't know why. That's probably why. So that would probably be the other factor.
And how much is it different from a coaching perspective now, when you can just focus on execution than maybe be in a situation where you can't overcome the mistakes that maybe you couldn't overcome?
Well, I think early on when you take over a program, I think that's, and again, it depends on the type of program you're taking over, but I think that's one of the first things that you have to do is teach the players how to not lose. These are the things that are going to lose games for you. And before we start learning how to win, we got to stop doing these things. Then after you get to that point, then it's now, hey, let's start attacking the defense, let's start doing all those types of things. And then fortunately, I think over time that just becomes part of your culture. We don't hurt ourselves. We don't have penalties. We don't have turnovers. We don't do selfish things like getting a fight during a game, things like that. That just kind of becomes a part of who you are. You can't ever take it for granted. You got to be instilling that in practice from day one. When you see those behaviors pop up, that you address them. But you're exactly right. The sooner you can get to the point where you're spending your time focused on attacking the defense, or our defense attacking the offense, and trying to game plan and scheme to gain an advantage, it's really helpful.
Hey, there have been a lot more James Franklin sightings downtown and on campus than when you first got here. Is that by design, or you feel more comfortable that you can get out of the office sometimes? Did you buy someone Jamba Juice today in the hub?
Yeah, I
heard that.
See, you know what? Thanks, Mike. I don't think it's really different. I think I've said this to you guys before. I think a couple of you guys I've gone to lunch with. My thing was, from day one, I wanted to be out more so that it became kind of more natural, that would allow me to be out and it's not a big deal. Because I don't know if that's how it was. I think you even mentioned maybe, the last 10 years of Coach's career. I've been doing it since I've been here. I usually try to get out of the office. I'm a huge farmers market guy. I love farmers markets. Me and my daughters go to farmers markets every Thursday and Saturday in the summer. We go buy fresh produce or art or music. We come back to the house, we play music, we slice up the tomatoes, whatever it may be. Here I go to the one downtown on Tuesdays and Fridays. I think it's Tuesdays and Fridays.
Right, church.
Yeah, and I usually get the fresh lunch. They either have a barbecue there or they have some Mexican place. I usually try to take a different staff member with me every single day. Me and Will Flaherty, our player development guy, go on a walk typically on Sundays and Mondays. I'm really proud of Will. He's lost 33 pounds since this summer. But yeah, I try to get out as much as I possibly can because I think it's healthy to get out of the office for a little bit. And then I've had a routine since, I think, Chris, since I've been here, is Tuesday after the press conference, I try to pick up students and drive them to the hub or in that direction. And then I go and get an old man green smoothie that's kale. And then whoever's in line behind me, I buy them as well. But I think I've done that since year one. Just people are probably a little happier to see me now than they used to.
Time for two more.
So James, I guess last year, and we've talked about this, Iowa played some really good teams pretty tough last year. I mean, they beat Michigan, they played Wisconsin tough. The teams that get behind, power run game and establish that. But the spread teams kind of beat them pretty bad. You guys in Florida. What do you attribute that to when after watching the film?
Tremendous respect for Iowa and their program and their head coach. I mean, the consistency that they've been able to play with for the long haul is impressive. I'm excited about going there. It's one of the venues that I've always heard about, even recruiting against them when I was an assistant. They don't have an NFL team. They're their NFL team. It's a big deal, and you better be ready to play. Hard-nosed, blue-collar, all those types of things. That's how I'm comfortable answering your question. It probably is not exactly how you wanted me to answer it, but that's how I'm comfortable answering.
Coach, we got a good look at substantial look at Miles Sanders and Robinson behind Barkley on Saturday. What did you see out of those guys? Obviously, if they're called upon or need to take the rock more often, how do you evaluate their performance?
We look at all those guys as starters. Those guys are in a challenging, tough situation because they're good enough to start for us and win for us. But we have, maybe one of the better football players on the planet. For them, there's a real positive that they're able to watch someone and learn from someone. And then what we tell those guys all the time is when you get an opportunity, you got to maximize that opportunity. So when you go in, you got to do something with it. And I think Coach Huff has done a really good job of creating a culture in that room. And I think Saquon's been a big part of that as well. How Saquon works, how Saquon is in the community, how Saquon goes to class. It's hard for anybody else not to do it if Saquon's doing it. So, we're starting to create that type of depth at a lot of positions, which is good, and we're going to need it. But I think that's probably the new word in our program right now is there needs to be a little bit of patience with some of our personnel, that their time is coming and they just need to be ready when it does.